Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
First and goal now at the 8-yard line. Jones out of the gun. Two receivers split out wide left. He backs to throw. Throws upfield. Wide open. Tyler Warren, and he waltzes in. Touchdown! An 8-yard pass. Daniel Jones to Tyler Warren. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y! Bam Knight is the tailback. Brissett hands off to Knight going left, and he barges in across the goal line for a touchdown. And so on the second drive of the game, the Cardinals answer, and they put a touchdown on the board, and they are now an extra point away from tying the game. It's 7-6. Jones rolls out to his right, being chased by the Cardinals. He's at the 5. He's in! Touchdown! Daniel Jones, a rushing score, his 4th rushing touchdown this season, and the Colts are back on top, 13-7. An I formation. Bam Knight, the tailback. They got a fullback into the game as well. McBride in motion. Now he settles back in as the wing to the right side. Brissett, play action, rolls to the right, throws end zone, and going up and making a bid on the ball is McBride for a touchdown, and he makes the catch. It is 6 points for Arizona. They have the lead. It's 16-14 with 8:39 to go in the third quarter. Brissett out of the gun. Going back to his right is Knight. Back in the throw, Brissett, and throws to his right. Pass is caught at the 5, and then going forward close to the goal line into the end zone is Dortch with a flag on the play. Greg Dortch for the time being has a touchdown, a gain of 12, but again wandering on the field during the play.
Holding defense number 29. This penalty is declined.
Out of the gun goes Jones. Taylor Malone back to the right side. Two receivers that way. Jones looks left, backs to throw, throws in the end zone, caught, touchdown, Josh Downs, touchdown, I-N-D-Y, and the Colts are an extra point away from tying the ball game. Jones, quick pitches the left side to Jonathan Taylor, cuts up, he's in, touchdown, and the Colts indeed retake the lead, 30-27. Arizona needs the 2-yard line for a first down. The Colts looking to get off the field here, and if they do, they likely go to 5-1. Shotgun snap, Brissett backs the pass, throws upfield into the end zone. It's incomplete. No flag. And Trey McBride was the intended receiver, and the Colts improve to 5-1 on the season. Final score today from Lucas Oil Stadium. It'll be the Indianapolis Colts 31 and the Arizona Cardinals 27.
Matt Taylor, Rick Venturi, the Colts Radio Network. I'm going to tell you why. You know with Juan why this weekend was so spectacular. But I'll also lay on you in a second why yesterday was significant too. And I do have to give credit where credit is due. I completely downplayed Jacoby Brissett. And I don't know what the hell was going on with their defense, whether we're talking about the secondary or the lack of pressure up front. Both situations that if you really truly want to be good, you're going to have to deal with it. You've gone this far, right? You've been uncharacteristic in your ways, in your measures in the offseason, and that's worked. So do more prior to the trade deadline, because it is clear that this team is off to a 5-1 start. It is clear to me that they can do some damage, certainly position themselves for the postseason, and frankly are a hell of a lot better than a lot of us, like me, felt they were going to be. So play off of it. I've always said this about Curt Cignetti. The one thing, and it isn't talked about very often, But the one thing that I truly love is that he gets to something, and he does stick to it. Everybody cried and whined about the schedule. Oh, it's a soft schedule, and he makes fun of the SEC, blah, blah, whatever. You know what? It worked for him a year ago. It has worked for him. Results matter. Everybody pissing and moaning about everything every moment of the time before actual games go down. It's meaningless. It's a bunch of hot air. It's funny. I say this all the time, and I'm glad you're here, and I want you to be here. And I want you to be here all the time, full time, every time. But we end up talking about crap, and about 90% of it never happens. Seriously. It's all just a bunch of air floating around. That's the nature of it. We get it. But the genius of Curt Cignetti is that he has developed a plan, a system. It worked at James Madison. It worked in year one at IU. And it is working again. You bring in a veteran quarterback. Did that last year with Curtis Rourke. That worked. You found out that between your veteran quarterback a year ago and the quarterback you're bringing in this year is that you're probably going to have, simply put, your best offensive line maybe you've ever had. Or certainly one of the best offensive lines in the history of this program. You can remember Don Fisher over my many beers and he and his wife Susie's food at our table told me a number of times prior to the start of the season, this could be the best offensive line that we have ever seen at IU. And to me, that has been the case. You build an offensive line. Your shortcomings were in what they like to reference as the trenches on either side of the football, and especially with the offensive line. When they were done in by Ohio State, done in by Notre Dame a year ago, it was because they got pushed around. Now, certainly there were other plays that were magnified that played a role, don't get me wrong, but they got pushed around. Historically speaking, IU football teams get pushed around by the bigger programs. There have been moments in the past where everybody gets excited about IU football, and then you get matched up with one of the so-called big teams, big boy teams, elite-level teams, and you get depanced. It's like, yeah, you know what? Go to the back of the line. Yeah, not Saturday, though. And what Curt Cignetti has put together in his plan, his blueprint, this creation, it works. You want to know how? You can see it. And then you look at the past. When's the last time, and I'm talking those true IU football fans out there, those that have been IU football fans for decades, and you've been through it. Like I've said this before, when I think about IU football fans, I think about Bill Benner, the former columnist of the Star, friend of the show, because he has been going to games for decades. Sometimes, occasionally, if there's good fortune, it was good. Most of the time, it was horrific. Yet, he, his family, they still go. That's who I think about today with all this coming together. And those people know that what you witnessed on Saturday, that's not a flash in the pan. That's not a streak of good fortune or luck or a ball bouncing here or there. And, hey, you know what? We feel good because you just got luck. That wasn't getting lucky. They went out there, seriously, and they put Oregon in their home stadium in a headlock. Both sides of the football. I have never seen an IU football team be that physical on both sides. Never. They've had good players. I go back to the Van Waiters era. I loved those teams back then. Loved them. Never did I see them play that stinking physical. Up front defensively, shout out to Pat Kuntz. My man is a wizard. And somebody is going to pay him at some point a great deal of money to coach up the entirety of a defense. That is fast-tracked right there. Those guys were relentless. Up front, their offensive line. Hemby, Black, running the football. They ran the football when they needed yards. You weren't always going to go to the pass to your quarterback. They really want to run the football, and they can. That offensive line is such a big deal. I've never seen an IU football team be that physical against a team like that. And I know, naysayers are going to go, well, Oregon, they went to Penn State and their big win in Happy Valley, and look at Penn State, they fired their coach and blah, 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 and losing streak, whatever. That is incredibly difficult to play. That is a talented team with a number of NFL players on it, and IU went out and announced their presence with authority. Put that game up front in a vice grip, and then won it going away. And maybe the most impressive aspect of it all, and this is something else, and I will get to my Colts point as it relates to this in a moment from yesterday, but something else that we have rarely, if ever, seen is an IU team that when the going gets tough or there is a mistake that is made, that they don't continue to magnify it. Do you guys remember Ohio State a year ago? That continued. Notre Dame, too. But in the past, you've constantly seen an IU team that when the going got tough, they went away. What impressed me as much as the physicality of the game and the way that it played was even after mistakes, they kept coming back. That group has resolve, and these are all words, buzz terms we throw around in sports all the time to describe if your favorite team has a set of nads that they roll up in a wheelbarrow carrying. These dudes do. You got to have a team full of wheelbarrows because these guys have that. And so does their coach. So does the staff. It's one thing to be lucky, and I like being lucky is great, but I like being lucky because, hell, I'm not good. But these guys are good, and that creates good fortune. But man, they have resolve. They always had a counter move. Nobody ever panicked. Even after the pick six, there was no panic. You go back out and you just move that thing down the field. That was, simply put, as impressive of a win as I've ever seen, and I have never seen an IU football team be that physical with a team of that caliber. As it pertains to the Colts from yesterday, I know you can have a great deal of disappointment because they need to be better up front defensively, need to be better in the back end defensively. Simply put, they need to be better defensively. And I know that everybody wants me to start out with the backup quarterback getting smacked in the eye with a band or whatever the hell happened there, or Mooney Ward getting run over by Ogletree and having a concussion and being in concussion protocol. But I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start with a team that won a game that here in recent history, you guys all know watching that yesterday, a lot of you, if you had really quick revisionist history from the past handful of years, you thought that they're going to lose that game. You expected them to lose that game. It was, at times, it kind of felt like defensively a bit of a jack-around session. Because their offense would go down the field and produce immediately, and then their defense would immediately give it back. And believe me, I'm apprehensive about embracing this defense, and that's why it's going to be necessary if there is a trigger to pull, a deal to be made, because we have seen across the NFL landscape that evidently there are going to be a lot of name guys that are going to be on the move, maybe more so than we have ever seen. The other thing that is more so than we've ever seen is this Colts team moving in a direction that's very uncharacteristic about their so-called process, which I'm glad, because prior to this year, their so-called process sucked for like 8 years. 8 years of process sucking. So the fact that you decide to come into fork in the road and you choose the other lane, well done. Continue to do that. I thought yesterday your defense, without Ward, it's one thing, and wanting to get Jalen Jones back, it's another. You had a dude that rolled in here, and Jermaine Pratt, James, he was in town for about 45 minutes and led that team in tackles yesterday. Hey, I'm gonna get cut by this team, and I'm coming to town. Hey, you know what? I think I'll go ahead and lead this defense in tackles. They need help up front. They need help in the secondary. They need their general manager. They need their front office to go out and find them that help. I do. I'm going to end up being wrong about this, and it's good because I've been right about this forever. It's about damn time I've been wrong about it. And hopefully I'm going to be wrong about it. You have to address needs because this is a team that you can make some waves with. This team is legit. Their quarterback had some circumstances yesterday. Honestly, two of the worst throws. We have seen him in a Colts uniform so far, but they sustained and they survived, and that's more to my point right here, being able to come back from that. As I mentioned, that's the type of game that in the past, the short-term past especially, but the past handful of years, this team has lost, and you fully expected it. Yeah, Jacoby Brissett was carving that defense up. You couldn't get pressure. You couldn't find resistance in the secondary. The only thing that felt like it continued the entire game defensively was Jermaine Pratt was stacking up tackles. That's about it. So you can address that. But more my point is what you did, and let's go ahead and figure this out. You do have an elite-level NFL offense. Have you watched some of these offenses around the NFL? You know how many of these offenses suck? Even the ones that are supposed to be good have sucked. You have an elite-level offense, and while we have made the point that we talk about Daniel Jones, MVP quarterback, Jonathan Taylor is the clear MVP. But Jonathan Taylor also has the benefit from the quarterback, the better quarterback, figuring things out. The one thing, and I've mentioned this before, that the Colts have told us that has been absolutely accurate is the reason why, more so than anything else, you want to make sure dudes are in the right spot. That's why Daniel Jones was the guy. Dudes are on the right spot. Rick Venturi has told you this for a number of months on this show, and we'll tell you about this, I'm sure, coming up again tomorrow in the 4 o'clock hour. And he was right. And they were right. Because this, cohesively speaking, looks like a completely different group. All of a sudden, you've got, well, I think this guy can be a weapon. Well, I think that guy can be a weapon. And then you add a quarterback, and you add just one badass rookie. And Tyler Warren, that's exactly what he take Warren off the back and put badass back there. Because he is. It is funny. We're going into week 7, James, coming up this week. And watching teams try to figure out how to handle him. And I can't be alone. When you watch him play with this offense, it's almost like you get the feeling that they don't utilize him enough. You go, man, you're leaving a lot on the table. And I'm not going to argue with what they're doing offensively whatsoever. But you can't tell me that you don't find yourself sitting there, whether it's at home or inside Lucas Oil Stadium, watching these teams play and go, hey, you know what? You could probably get even more out of that position and out of him if you wanted to. But that has changed the dynamic completely. And yesterday was a game that we have seen here especially recently, that this team yesterday would have lost. And a lot of you expected it. And really, we were talking on the Colts pregame huddle yesterday, and I felt at the time the only way that the Colts end up losing is if they do it to themselves. And they were making a lot of mistakes, and maybe it wouldn't be the mistakes where you turn it over, and these were just, guys wide open. The secondary still hasn't figured out to cover anybody. And then up front, they still haven't figured out. They had that guy with the football back there. You know what? You can go back and tackle him if you want. You want to put some pressure on him? Because we weren't talking about a good Cardinals offensive line. We were talking about a discombobulated offense. We were talking about a quarterback that's all that. And all that had all the signs going down the stretch in that game as what could have been just an incredibly awful loss. And then you go to the Chargers next week in Southern California, and let's just say, for example, you lose 2 straight, and then the feeling about this team is completely different. But yesterday you survived that. Because I still will tell you this, that wasn't a good team with the Cardinals, and it's especially not a good team without Kyler Murray. The Colts defensively helped that team be or look, at least yesterday, like a good team. But what ultimately matters is the fact that you get the win and you're now 5-1. You're 4-0 at home. And while Tennessee's firing their head coach within your own division, and you get them coming up in a couple of weeks, and obviously we all looking down the road for that game in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers leading the Steelers where they are right now. All that aside, this is the most ideal start as anybody could have asked for. Even if you are selfish and you look at that Rams game as one that they blew, and they did. But 5-1 is an excellent start, and you got something brewing here. You continue to think outside of what your normal protocol is if you're the Colts right here and address some needs because you have them. And you can take this thing, as Scott Stapp once famously said, James, you can take this thing higher. Got to address some stuff. And I mean, you got it. Don't be jacking around. Oh, well, we looked around and yeah. No. Find something that is workable and do something with it. James.
I'm just always impressed by your ability to work a Scott Stapp reference into a conversation.
Stapp's hair. I'm always thinking if you get out of that man bun, you're like Scott Stapp Jr. over there. The Colts are winner 31-27. We will get into that over the course of the afternoon. Stephen Holder's going to join us coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. A little bit of FUBAR here. So I bail at 5:30. Shout out to the Pacers because we do have Colts Roundtable. That starts at 5:30. The Pacers tip time at 7. Pre-game coverage there starts at 6:30. I did want to give a shout out. If you went down to the Fieldhouse on Saturday night, the Pacers win preseason game 2 against the Thunder, and it was awesome. So awesome. I wasn't there. I was doing the JMV takeover to see the Barnheisers courtside watching Brooks Barnheiser play for the Thunder. And as you probably noted, he is good. And there is a reason why Sam Presti had him targeted for a long period of time, because they like him. They are stacked. They are loaded with talent. But they like him, and he's going to play at some point there. But it was great to see him play against the Pacers at the Fieldhouse and see his dad, Mark, and his mom, Heidi, on the floor afterwards taking pictures. That was awesome. Because I do know this. I know how much that his dad, Mark, if anybody knows Mark Barnheiser, there's probably nobody on the face of the earth, not even me, that loves basketball as much as that guy. And that was pretty cool seeing all that in that preseason game this past Saturday. Spurs and Pacers coming up later on tonight. That tip time is at 7 o'clock. Got a couple of championship series games. A game 2, Seattle, the surprise last night in Toronto, up a game in that best of 7. That first pitch is at 5:08 north of the border. Mariners and Blue Jays, game number 2 of the ALCS, and game 1 of the NLCS. The Dodgers and the Brewers from Milwaukee. The side of Miles, you see Miles Turner's preseason game where he had 19 and knocked down threes? See, I go from a guy now that goes, hey, you know what? That's just part of the offense. They're going to find Miles wide open looks, and now I'm the guy that says, hey, is anybody going to go out there and maybe get a hand up anytime soon? What the hell? Okay, stepping into threes. It'll come soon enough, everybody. November the 3rd on a Monday night at Cambridge Fieldhouse. The Bucks and the Pacers. Be that as it may, let's get started. 239-1070 is the number. If you guys want to jump on board, I'd love to talk to you. 317-239-1070 is the text line. I will and I shall read your stuff. Purdue's number one to start the season in college hoop, and that is awesome. We'll get Matt Painter here on the inbound at some point before the start of the season as well. Road show tomorrow. Road shows Thursday and Friday. I shall explain. I mentioned Rick Venturi's coming up on tomorrow's show as well in the 4 o'clock hour. But first things first, Stephen Holder, 5 o'clock hour. Matt Surface, former Hoosier, in the 4 o'clock hour. The stream, the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Don't go anywhere. By the way, if you are on the road, fall break, AAA membership, it's a must. AAA.com. Become a member. Tell them I sent you. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Fernando takes the snap. They pressure him. The throw to the end zone. Touchdown! EJ! Wow, what a play. And it was actually Surratt who made the catch.
Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers. Now you, CareSource Radio Network, you heard it on 93 WIBC this past Saturday. 30-20 is the final. So I'm assuming that Don's going to be buying coming up on Friday night. If you see Don out, say that means you're going to be buying for JMV coming up on Friday night at our table. Although his son probably has a football game for Edgewood High School. But no, 30-20 in the most physical IU football team that I have ever seen against a good team, ever. Yes.
The Learfield.
Learfield.
Network.
What's the care source? What the hell am I making up names here or what?
That may have been the Pacers at one point. I'm not sure.
They're the Alavants.
Elevants?
What the Alavants? You imagine if I had to do that all the time, I'd be blanking that thing up like crazy. Worse than I am right now. IU, third ranked, by the way. Did I see this accurately? And somebody said, well, the coach's poll, it doesn't matter. Whatever. You prop up your team. But I think I saw in the coach's poll where they had one first-place vote. Do we know who that one first-place vote was from? Number 3, Indiana, Michigan State, 3:30 coming up on Saturday. In Bloomington, Boilermakers Northwestern from Evanston, 3 o'clock coming up on Saturday afternoon. Number 20, USC. We might find a little something out. I thought I knew all I needed to know about Trojans. I found out a little bit more coming up in South Bend on Saturday. 7:30, number 20, USC. And their pack of Trojans. Number 13, Notre Dame. More, too, on the Colts win, 31-27. On the road coming up next week, a late afternoon affair. Make amends back in Southern California for what took place there almost a month ago. Make everybody around here feel good. And the Chargers won yesterday, but still, down left tackle, right tackle, running backs, plural. Take advantage of it. JMV, when healthy, Quentin Nelson is one of the best run-blocking guards to ever play. Taylor looks fantastic, and Nelson is a huge part. Josh in Mooresville. Text line number 317-239-1070. And it does. The play calling, the quarterback make it all offensively look better. There's no question about that. I should mention, because he won last week, some bullseye passes, that C. Fitch, Calvin called the Daniel Jones thing long ago, so shout out to Calvin. 2 quarterbacks led the Colts to 5 wins through 6 weeks since 2000, Peyton Manning and Daniel Jones. I will also tell you this. I am more for the Colts. I'm more worried about what's not happening up front and the injury concerns and the situational play in the secondary. I know everybody wants to ask me, so are they going to go out and find a backup quarterback? That is the least of my concerns right now. And not because I'm going to be funny and say, well, I knew they didn't have a backup quarterback anyway. Not even that. The least of my concerns is there. The focus should be on what you witnessed yesterday. Those are shortcomings of a good team. And you've changed up your process this season. Continue down that path. If you can find a piece that helps that on either end, then holy hell, do it. And I think it's up to you to do it. There's been a lot of jacking around for 8 years. There should be no jacking around with a 5-1 start in year number 9 here. Looking the way that you do. Hitting you right in the grill. Yeah, I can't explain the elastic band thing. It has been. I know I could spend an entire show like making fun. I did joke yesterday that maybe the Colts should go ahead and warm up in the parking lot. But we have bigger and better things to talk about. We can make light of that anytime. Bigger and better things to talk about. A 5-1 Colts team, a third-ranked IU football team, Purdue #1 in college basketball, me at the Hyper earlier today. I mean, all four of those things are just mammothly more important to me. Mike in Brooklyn is going to lead as he normally does on this Victory Monday. Hello, Mike.
Hey, JMV, what's up?
Mike, what's happening?
No, listen, I want to commend you. Nice job. Well done. You pretty much summed up the whole state of the Colts right after week 6. So
got to do something, don't you, buddy, before the trade deadline? You cannot sit dormant on this thing. You can't do it.
Yes, well, when your whole season is win for Jim, and you have
yes,
JI patches, and you have a For the Boss T-shirt with Jim Irsay with his lucky cowboy hat and shades on, looking like the ultimate badass, and you got the Win for Jim guitar, then you have to go for it. We've been talking about this for weeks. I actually give Ballard credit this year. I think he's doing a nice job this year because he has changed his approach. He's going for it. Even the moves, the moves that not every move is going to work out. The Xavier Howard, the Helton move, but I understand what he was doing there, so I give him credit. I think the Pratt move is going to really turn out to be a good move.
And even with that, I was going to mention too. I also want to see them do something a little more substantial than just former Anarumo coach castoffs. You know what I mean? And even though Pratt had 11 tackles, but that defensive effort was far from anywhere near what you wanted. I thought that magnified just how bad things were on that side of the football. Yeah, the guy rolls in here midweek and leads the team in tackles.
Yeah, well, with Ward's status, I know Ballard was already kicking the tires on some corners, and we talked about this weeks ago. It's time to stop. I don't want to hear about these PFF grades and everything. As far as the pass rush goes, Latu is not going to be the guy right now. He is a complimentary guy.
Yeah,
he's not going to be the disruptor that we need. You need one of Venturi's ambient guys. You need a guy who's a game wrecker so that he could fall back into his number 2 spot. And that's why I want to ask you this question because I'm all in on one guy, and if we get him, it'll change it. I need Ballard to put on his Don Corleone hat, call up the Las Vegas Raiders, and make them an offer they cannot refuse for Max Crosby.
Yeah. Because
Max Crosby will totally change the whole dynamic of that defense. That's exactly what we need.
Man. If he were able to pull, because let's just take the name Crosby out of the equation here for a moment. If he were able to pull off a deal, because it is so difficult, nobody wants to part with game wreckers like that or other name game wreckers. But if you're able to pry somebody away, trade deadline-wise, it almost would erase like 8 years of futility with a lot of people around here, would it not? Mostly futility.
Yeah. And from the Raiders' perspective, they have to start, really thinking about next year, thinking about the future. Just using the Micah Parsons trade as a framework because Ballard supposedly was in on that. If you have to give up 2 first-round draft picks and something else for Max, you have to look at it with the approach of, okay, well, we're going to give up 2 first-round draft picks, but they're going to be the 32nd pick in the first round. That's the mindset that I think that this organization has to have because if you're going to go for it, go for it. If you have to throw in a player like they need receiver help, you want to let them take a chance on turning around a guy like A.D. Mitchell with his potential talent, you could throw him in. If they want to take a shot at Anthony Richardson on a potential that, hey, we'll get him in here for a year or 2, you could throw him in. Anything that doesn't interfere with, your success this year. The Colts are in a unique situation because, they talk about the the closing window. The Colts window was closing, but it was never really open because they didn't have a quarterback.
In all likelihood, if things go or continue to go this way, you're going to get a first-place schedule, and that's what it's going to look like next year. So that whole dynamic is going to change. And, you're watching teams with first-place schedules now, especially ones that are getting dinged up. I mean, they're getting tossed by the wayside. So, yeah, you position yourself at 5-1. They don't owe it to just themselves or the legacy and the legend of Jim Irsay, but I'd say they owe it to their fans and the advertisers that spend the money that haven't received return on investment in a number of years to do that. So I know we make it in this conversation easier said than done. But it always seems like the other teams have done it, and it seems like that the Colts now more than ever would be more open to it. And I thought after yesterday, even with Ward out, and watching Brissett just carve them up in that capacity, you've got to do something. You just can't sit on your hands on this. You have to.
Yep, absolutely must. Absolutely must. Pass rusher is it's the number one thing. If you get a game-changing, game-wrecking guy like that will change the whole dynamics. Hopefully Ward could come back and you could fit some other pieces in, but the game wrecker would be, I'm sure Rick Ventori would be totally in agreement with that.
Well, we're going to talk him up just about that tomorrow. No doubt about that.
And I will be listening. Brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Later. Bye.
Mike and Brooke. Sorry about that. Monday. See, I haven't been in the studio in like 2 weeks. I'm hitting all kinds of buttons. Seriously, I don't think I've been in here in 2 weeks.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
You weren't here at all last week.
I wasn't here all last week. I think I was out of here Wednesday through Friday the week prior.
That sounds right.
I have not been in here in 2 weeks, so I'm hitting buttons and turning mics off. And Brian Callahan fired after the brutal start for the Titans this season. So the first NFL coach to go was Brian Callahan in Nashville. Got a double dip of baseball. We'll get into the championship series. Got a game 1 later on tonight, a game 2 coming up later on this afternoon. Pacers preseason versus the Spurs. That and more, don't go anywhere. Matt Surface from IU, the former Hoosier, going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. Stephen Holder after 5. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA.com. Become a AAA member today, especially if you're embarking upon a fall break vacation. Make sure somebody has your back. AAA has your back. AAA.com to become a member today. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
had a boner in PE in high school. He was wearing sweatpants. It was really embarrassing, so this song goes out to him.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
First and goal now at the 8-yard line. Jones out of the gun. 2 receivers split out wide left. He backs to throw. Throws upfield. Wide open. Tyler Warren, and he waltzes in. Touchdown! An 8-yard pass. Daniel Jones to Tyler Warren. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. Colts a winner yesterday. Colts Roundtable coming up today at 5:30 because Pacer pregame at 6:30. Tip time, Pacers Spurs preseason at 7 o'clock. You've got an NLCS and an ALCS. ALCS game 1 last night. I thought that was fun. So the Blue Jays score like 9 runs a game against the Yankees in the divisional round and muster 1 against what was a pitching staff that had been worked. Can I stay up and watch that, 15-inning decisive Game 5 with the Tigers on Friday night, which, by the way, was awesome theater if you love sports. When it really, truly matters, you love that. Cal Raleigh solo shot. Jorge Polanco continues to rake in the postseason. And the Mariners win 3-1, Game 2 of the ALCS. Later on this afternoon, 5:08 in Toronto. Dodgers-Brewers, Game 1. That's a little bit after 8 o'clock coming up later on tonight from Milwaukee. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, too, you do have a double dip on Monday Night Football after what was a very busy weekend for you. And I love having 2 games to choose from. Bills, Falcons coming up tonight. Bears, Commanders, the other one. I believe I've essentially won my 3rd fantasy game of the season, so I'm feeling good about that. I think my picks may have been flushed down the toilet this week, and I told you I hated every second of the games. Hated them. And we'll see coming up on Thursday. Thursday, Joe's Grill. We're going to be in Westfield on our Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, Behringer Southside, South Meridian. Let's all have beers, a little late afternoon beer tomorrow at Behringer's. Rick Venturi. You've been wanting to hear Rick. I talked to Rick in the press box yesterday down in the radio booth. Rick is coming on 4 o'clock tomorrow, Rick Venturi. Matt Surface, former IU defensive player, top of the hour. Stephen Holder coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. 239-1070 on this here program, and Bill is up next. Hello, Billy.
JMV, how you doing today?
Billy, I'm outstanding. Am I going to see you at Behringer's? Am I going to see you at Joe's Grill? Am I going to see you at the Ale Emporium Castleton? We've got all those destinations this week, buddy.
That is uno dos tres affirmative, my friend. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go to those. And let me just give a shout-out to Sam Circle.
Yes.
I thought that they vaulted themselves into the discussion of top 5 remote broadcast locations with such rarefied air as the Mutt, Coach's Tavern, Joe's Grill in Castleton.
Yes.
Certainly up there. So
Sam Silver Circle is awesome. By the way, if you were lucky enough to go with Chris Hagan and I after we went to Tappers and played track and field. Remember the video game Track and Field at Tappers? I cannot throw the javelin nor the hammer very well. It's unfortunate in track and field. I couldn't then, and I still can't today.
That was back in the Pac-Man days, right?
It was probably 83, 84 for track and field, a little bit later in the 80s for it, but it was a very fun game to play. I did not have the comb in my back pocket to be able to hit the buttons quicker than I normally will with my normal index fingers. It was unfortunate.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about football. I thought that everybody talks about the complete game that they played, and it certainly was just a beatdown. But what a clown Oregon's coach must feel like. Did you see some of the stuff that he was doing before the game? He was on with McAfee and the pregame and everything, and he takes off his shirt, and he's waving it over his head and talking about the environment, and everybody's going to have the same shirt on. Well, he took his shirt off, but IU took his pants off as soon as they got on the field. They just dominated him. He looked like he didn't have a clue. The number 1 Heisman Trophy candidate and everything looked really pedestrian.
Oh, hey, Billy. Billy, call back, man. Your phone just faded. I don't know what the hell happened there. I think your phone faded after you mentioned somebody getting their pants taken off. Now, I would have talked it up. Normally, I'd talk something like that up. Win Schuler's spreadability, have you found it yet? Do you dig on snacking? You got a lot to snack to sports-wise later on tonight. Make sure the spreadability is on your coffee table, sitting on your lap, or on your tray if you're watching football or baseball when it matters tonight. Original sharp cheddar bacon and cheddar jalapeno pepper. The spreadability of Win Schuler's back for the football, for the baseball, and for the fall of 2025. The spreadability of Win Schuler's. Find it at your favorite Meijer location or wherever you buy your groceries. Back with you next.
my buddy, Swanson, full steam ahead, over there. I want to go over there. Move over, Swanson, I'm driving.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Here's the snap back to Moore. He throws it. It's intercepted by Indiana. The Hoosiers come up with it, and Isaiah Jones comes up with a pick, and Indiana gets the football back again.
Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers. I did not censor Bill. JMV, you guys just censored poor Billy once he mentioned Dan Lanning losing his pants. And simply just coming up with a likely story, it was his phone. You guys heard his phone crap out? Billy knows that. Billy comes out to about every show. JMV, are you on board with the Heisman hype and talk of a possible number 1 overall selection with Fernando Mendoza? Who would have expected that? He's in the conversation. Oh, this is a good one right here. I'm on top of this. JMV, will you be putting in a bid and take a run at the Michael Andretti Geist estate? What type of bid should I put in on a home that is going for $11.96 million?
$11.96 million?
What the hell is in this place? It's interesting. I think his house may be worth more than most of IndyCar teams. My God, what the hell's happening here?
What are the amenities? Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah, there's some amenities. I will say this, though. It looks like that there's an inordinate amount of light bulb changing that will have to go on.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of lights. A lot of bulb changing.
I mean, if you're dropping 11 point whatever million on a house, you can
go to Costco and buy a bunch of light bulbs.
I mean, you can probably pay somebody to put the light bulbs in for you if you're dropping that much money on a house.
So I'm going to call Michael here with my offer. What, 11 point? I'm going to stay where I am because I love where I live. But if I were going to put on an offer 11.86, where should I start?
You're asking the wrong guy.
JMV, I love the freaking text line, especially when you repeat the message verbatim. You guys send it to me. I'm going to send it out to the rest of the stinking world for all to hear. Smart, stupid, or otherwise. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Is our guy here? Matt Surface, the former Hoosier. He's got to be feeling good on this Monday. Matt joins us now. Hello, Matt.
JMV, it's been too long.
It has.
It's been too long. Good to hear you.
What
a great time.
I'm telling you. Where do we start? Where do we start with your former team there?
Well, first, I just want to say what a great time to be a fan of Indiana teams in general. I mean, the Colts off to a great start. Notre Dame is the best 2-loss team in the country with a clear path to the playoffs.
Yeah, we don't care anything about them. You don't have to mention them, though.
But Purdue has doubled their win total from last year in football, and their basketball team's ranked number 1. So it's just a great time. But, the frickin' Indiana Hoosier football team is ranked 3rd in the country.
What? I know it.
Just left Eugene, Oregon in tears and screaming, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?" What a time this
Beautiful is. Animal House reference right there that was filmed in Eugene, Oregon from Matt Surface. I mentioned this, and obviously you played, and this is not a shot at any former teams, but I'm going to tell you, watching decades of IU football, I've never seen both sides up front as physically played and really oftentimes dominant versus a high-caliber team like that on the road, as I witnessed IU do on Saturday.
No, you're absolutely right. And I thought, once again, I heard Coach Signetti say this after the Illinois game, which, by the way, amazing. I haven't ever seen Memorial Stadium like that in my life. So kudos to all the IU faithful. But when he said that basically just broke their will. And that's a fact. After that pick 6, that everybody just thought, here we go.
Yeah.
This is it. They're going to, we're going to get this done if you're an Oregon fan or, if we're being honest, a little bit of doubt creeps in your mind because of past trauma for the IU fan. So, you think here it goes, but, in reality, it was just a sheer dominance up front on both sides of the ball. Save a blown coverage and just a bad decision thrown off his back foot by Mendoza. I mean, that's 2 touchdowns right there that don't happen. And you can play the ifs and whats all day, but you're absolutely right. It was a phenomenal performance in the trenches, which not even 2 years ago, I would have never said that about an IU football team. Forever, maybe dating back to Anthony Thompson, for those of you that remember.
This is just it's a different era altogether. And Kurt Cignetti and this IU football program is taking advantage of a wide-ass open-door opportunity to lay claim to a spot that basically the rest of the world felt was just a pipe dream, a fairy tale. It would never take place. But, Matt, in this era of NIL and moving around and transfer portal stuff, it all can happen, especially if you have a plan or a blueprint that works. And clearly Cignetti, through a year and now, 6 or so games, whatever it is, he has a plan that works. It does. You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not only did he bring a few, guys in from James Madison, but just bringing guys that buy in, right? I mean, they've clearly bought in to what he's talking about. I mean, this is a team that, for the most part, doesn't beat themselves. I mean, there were certainly some mistakes that were frustrating a little bit on Saturday and Iowa particularly, but they show that resolve, and I heard you talking about that resolve earlier, and couldn't be more true. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, a team that buys into having that confidence, that pride, that belief that they can go out there and do it. I mean, again, like I said, on many other lesser teams, I'd say most other teams that were of a lesser makeup fold after they throw a pick six in Autzen Stadium in the fourth quarter. I mean, the game's pretty much over, even though it's tied. But they showed a tremendous amount of confidence, poise, and resilience. And in order to show that resilience and make it be fruitful, you have to have that confidence and poise, because they stood up when most teams would have panicked and left with their tail between their legs. And
we've seen that happen with IU in the past. And
as recent as last year. Frankly.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the other thing that stood out to me. You go back to Ohio State and Notre Dame, Matt, from a year ago, and they lost those games, to me, in a large way, just how they won that game in Eugene against Oregon.
Yeah.
On Saturday, I should say.
Oh, absolutely right. Because, again, I think it was the upfront play that had them against Ohio State and that had them against Notre Dame. And they turned the tables this time on a Ducks team that, it's been said numerous times, but it bears repeating. I mean, that's a tremendous defensive line they have. And the offensive line for the Hoosiers just opened holes. I mean, did a fantastic job and kept Mendoza, pretty well protected to be able to make those throws. And so, yeah, I think that, and again, when the chips were down, they stood up and had the belief, had the confidence they were going to win. I don't think there was ever a doubt in their mind. There can't be when you're playing a game like that with that type of intensity for 3.5 quarters or 3 quarters, and then you get that pick. You have to have a tremendous amount of confidence and belief in yourself and your teammates that you're going to get the job done, even though things have really taken a hard turn.
I will always have a great deal of love for Pete Stoyanovich and Scott Bunnell, but man, Nico Radicic from 58, and I don't know, I was listening to it at the time, and they didn't reference it, but I know that Lanning called a timeout, and he missed that initial attempt.
Oh, dude.
And I often think that is a tactical error that kind of gets you dialed in if you miss that first one.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it was Brendan Franke that they ran out there.
Oh, it was Frankie, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Frankie. Yeah.
He normally
Yes.
obviously does a great job with the kickoffs, kicks them all
Yeah.
through the end zone, which is super important.
Well, I was listening to it at the time, and I felt that maybe he got did he get dialed in? Did he get dialed in from that miss? Because I couldn't really tell, and they were talking about something else, but I was trying to measure the situation. And it sounded like that they said he missed it, the first one.
So he goes out there. The ref comes running in. I mean, first of all, ref doesn't need to come running in when a guy's about to kick the ball. Literally, just about blocked the kick himself, the referee, or hurt Frankie as he's trying to stop from kicking the ref. But he made that field goal. He made the one they called the timeout on from 58. And then he turns around and knocks the next one through, too. Just incredible.
See, I thought that they suggested he missed that first one. That's why I asked the question, because I always felt that maybe that dials you in. So
he made both of them. It was crazy.
Man, that was such a big moment, too. You know?
To end the road to end the half and to knock a 58. I mean, I know people are kicking longer field goals now, but come on, man. 2 58ers in a row.
That's crazy.
That kind of pressure, that's crazy.
I was going to ask you, as a former linebacker, Matt Surface, the former Hoosiers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, IU 3:30 coming up on Saturday afternoon against Michigan State down in Bloomington. 2:30, your coverage begins with Don and Buck and John on the Learfield Network with IU football. When you look at, for example, what IU has at linebacker and a guy like Aiden Fisher, where does he stand out to you? Because he to me, is as much a quarterback defensively as Mendoza is offensively for that side of the football. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. No, I think that is fair to say. I mean, making sure people are in a place they need to be, and then once the ball is snapped, dude is sideline to sideline making plays. I mean, you know, love to see it. Elite. I'm telling you what, this linebacker core may be the best core in the country, at least neck and neck with LSU's Perkins and the Weeks brothers. But this is just an incredible trio with Aiden Fisher, Isaiah Jones, who I just love the way that dude's a beast, and then Hardy. I mean, those three guys. I mean, that's the difference, right? In what you're talking about with the games they played against Ohio State last year, Notre Dame, the front seven. So, I mean, I could talk about the defensive line as well, because I'm super impressed with the way that they don't have to blitz to get pressure on the quarterback. But those three linebackers, man, they're as good as any duo or trio in the country. And it's just fun to watch. And they can get into coverage. They can blitz when they need to. I mean, heck, they've already got, like, between the three of them, they don't blitz as often as people would think by the pressure that IU puts on them. They've already got 8 sacks in the 6 games played. So, I mean, it's a full front seven that's outstanding, and that leads to the turnovers that are created, which you're seeing interceptions by a lot of those DBs in the backside.
So, Matt Surface, the former Hoosiers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I kind of look at this offensively. You mentioned the running game and the offensive line, and Don Fisher had told me before the start of the season that from what he had witnessed in practices, this may be the best offensive line he's ever seen at IU. You referenced that a little bit earlier. Is there much of a comparison from all these IU teams you have seen up front offensively in the past to what this group has accomplished so far this season, and certainly did this past Saturday in Eugene?
Yeah, you know, I mean, you take your hat off to Bob Bostad, offensive line coach. He's just done, I mean, a fantastic job of developing the guys and then taking guys that they brought in, because they went out in the portal and got some guys, and getting them the cohesiveness that you need as an offensive line. It's not just throwing out the best players and saying, all right, let's go. They have to understand they've got to be able to communicate. They got to know what they're doing when the defense shifts. That communication is difficult. And offensive linemen are oftentimes the smartest guys on the football team. And it takes that to be able to adjust and make the right angles, that you have to be a great offensive line. I think they've just done a great job up in Eugene, especially with the crowd noise. Now, come on. I mean, the false starts are maddening, right? I mean, you're watching on TV, but when you go from it's different when you go from the shotgun versus being under center. Being under center, those guys can hear you in most any stadium. I don't care how loud it is. When you go to shotgun, that's a different beast. They're used to going off of claps. Now they got to go off of silent, and they still trying to communicate. That's tough. And I think I know that's why you saw as many false starts as you did, and that was some of the the things you want to clean up as you leave a game like that. But it just did a fantastic job. And I don't want to act like we're a big running team. I mean, obviously we can accumulate on the ground yardage. But it's an extremely balanced, and I don't want to talk in hyperbole because I know what I said about the linebackers, and I believe it. But I believe we have probably the second best receiving duo in the country with Omar Cooper and Surratt. I think that you got to tip your hat to Smith and Tate at Ohio State and probably give them the number one mantle. But man. Those guys caught 13 balls in the biggest game of the year, of probably their lives at this point, and did some tremendous things, especially, obviously that last touchdown. But it's the way they catch the ball and then do things with it afterwards. And all of that said, my favorite thing about these guys is, my goodness, do these receivers block. They're big-bodied receivers, from what you're used to seeing a lot of times on the outside. I know things are trending more to the bigger receiver, but these guys are kind of your prototypical pro receiver. These guys block downfield, and nothing fires a team up more than seeing receivers block through the whistle, and these guys do it, and I just love it. It gives me chills just thinking about it, and certainly watching it on Saturday.
He is Matt Surface on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. You talk about the run, too, and in closing it on Saturday's game. But when you look at the raw numbers, where they carry it 30-plus times, 111 yards, something like that, it doesn't stand out a great deal. But, man, those runs, some of those runs were in such, I thought, really crucial situations. And you said that they weren't a running team, and I would agree with you on that. But I think that they're a team that is capable of running, and I think sometimes it doesn't show how effective their running attack is, even if they don't have these, incredible rushing numbers, as a good running team or described as a good running team in college football might have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no question. And don't let me miscommunicate to anybody out there. I'm not saying they're not a running team. I'm just saying they're a very balanced team. They're not just, you hear a lot about Mendoza anytime anybody in the national media talks about IU. But so you might think they're just a throwing team. I just want to bring focus on the fact that they do both. And you're absolutely right. 111 yards. You know what? That's not bad. You rush for over 100 yards on a team like Oregon. That's not bad at all, especially accumulating the first downs that we did. I mean, IU had like 23 first down, somewhere in that neighborhood, to Oregon's 14, I think. I mean, that's just an outstanding job. And again, against Illinois, which came in with what people thought was a pretty decent defense, and I understand that they had some defensive backs out, but their front seven was pretty tight when they came in here into Bloomington. IU ran for over 300 yards on them. So, I mean, this is a team that can beat you. They'll take what you give them, and then they'll assert their will.
I don't even want to know how much it's going to cost to rent a hotel room on homecoming weekend down there.
It's not possible, John. I've already tried. I don't think you can get anywhere south of Indy. I don't think you can get anywhere south of Indy for less than $500 a night.
I think that Super 8 that overlooks the old quarry off of 446 right there next to Arlington Heights Elementary School is probably going to be going for like $800 a night, isn't it, or something?
I would think so. And not only that, but they've got a 3-night minimum.
Oh, yeah, 3-night minimum. You'll wake up in the morning and see the old quarry hole right behind you there. So yeah.
Yes, sir. That'll be fun, though.
that is fun. I will also say this regarding IU football fans, and especially you, like an alumni. It feels even more special because you guys, Matt, we have had conversations about this team, this program before during the lowest of the lows, and to see everybody be able to celebrate it in this fashion is pretty damn cool. It really is.
I mean, yeah, I just texted one of my old buddies, roommate Craig Goody, and right after as the hit all zeros, and it's like, oh my goodness, the Hoosiers have done it. And he was like, so fun. I mean, this is just an amazing time for Indiana University fans, first of all, but loyal, people that have played there, people that have been coming to Hoosier football games since, back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just something that you always dream it could be possible, but not for very long, because you kind of come back to reality when you think about it for 20 seconds. So this has just been an enormous boost in morale for everybody, and I'm excited to see where it can potentially go from here. And I don't want to hear any more talk about Cincinnati going to Penn State. That just would really pour a damper on everything. But we're going to embrace this time. We're going to embrace this time.
It's a new era. It's a dawn of a new day in college. You don't need to go. Why do you want to go and have to jack around with that legacy? And you can get paid here. Oh man! And then I mean, look what James. So you got to do. I mean, you could do what James Franklin did and still get canned. Now you get $49 million to get canned, which I think James Franklin that's genius. To be honest,
really,
that was the greatest move of all. $49 million to get canned and still have that record. And the only thing anybody's ever going to say negative about you is, well, you know what? It was because he couldn't win big games. But he's got a big-ass check right now, $49 million.
No doubt.
Yes.
No doubt. And I'm going to keep this in my back pocket, and people think about this. The athletic director at Penn State's a teammate of mine from the IU football team. So I don't think he's going to do that to his alma mater. He can go out and buy any number of coaches he wants to. He'll leave his Hoosiers alone, I'm sure of it.
You think that Kraft won't do it?
I'm hoping not, John. I'm hoping.
Do you still have open lines to him and can say, hey, man, don't come here?
No. Yeah.
Just say I'll whip you like I used to back in the day. I used to whip you back in the day, and I'll whip you again if you go at it.
I didn't whip too many people back in the day, John. But we can all have some blurry memories of time. So I might throw that out there for sure. I'm sure he's heard from a few of his old teammates already.
No doubt. Hey, pleasure as always, man. We'll work you back in. Yeah. But I knew the enthusiasm would be there from you. That's why I was happy to get you on.
Well, I'm grateful to talk to you, and I'm grateful that the Hoosiers are running roughshod. Let's go get the brass spittoon this weekend.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
All right. See you.
Former Hoosier linebacker Matt Surface on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I knew he brought the juice whenever they were bad. I knew he was going to bring that when they were good. Quick break. We'll come back. Stephen Holder, top of the hour. We've got 5:30 bailing. I'll tell you why. Road show tomorrow, Rick Venturi tomorrow. But right now, let's get into a little Colts review from their win yesterday. And your calls at 239-1070 next, too. Hang tight.
Just got your asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Out of the gun goes Jones. Taylor Malone back to the right side. Two receivers that way. Jones looks left. Backs to throw. Throws in the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Josh Downs. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. And the Colts are an extra point away from tying the ball game.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts yesterday. It was great to see all you guys. Great. Touchdown Town. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. What an outstanding day it was yesterday. Really a great weekend. Text line number 317-239-1070. Josh asked me this. Are you guys allowed to talk about Mark Sanchez? Yeah, but I don't. Like if I were to break down a segment and go, well, Mark Sanchez was released from the hospital and then went to the Marion County Jail where he bonded out on $3,000 bond. Would you guys really care? Just wondering. So, yeah, we're allowed to talk about it, but I think it was Zach at Fox 59? Zach Myers, he the one that got the video when he was walking out of Marion County? So, yeah, we are, but it just didn't really occur to me. The other thing is, Josh, and you bring up a good point, it hasn't occurred to me to talk about Ogletree running into Mooney and giving him a concussion or Richardson getting banged in the face with the bang, or I should say a band, and then having to go to the hospital and fracturing an orbital bone to the point now where evidently the Colts are going to go out and look for another backup quarterback, where the backup quarterback, I don't even care about that because it's almost like, I'm not trying to make the comparison of Manning to Jones. Don't get me wrong. But it kind of seems like that this is working so well offensively right now that it's probably Jones and Steichen that's making it work, and it's almost like back in the day, if you got to go to the backup, we're all screwed. That's how it feels like. I think it felt like that prior to the fractured orbital bone, which I struggle in saying. Nick says it was Russ McQuaid. Did he swoop in with his hat? He's got an outstanding Indiana Jones-looking hat. I always expect Russ McQuaid with his microphone to come out of some cobweb-wrapped cave carrying some idol. Thank you, Nick, for that. We do owe it to those that are working hard to get that right. JMV, I've been watching IU football for over 40 years, and I'm always waiting for the bottom to fall out. Not anymore. This brand of IU football is different. I will say this. This is such a different era. You can do it. You can put together something. And you can sustain something. I mean, we've seen the old guard fall by the wayside. Have we not? In both football and basketball. So you can do it. Yeah, I just don't want to. The backup quarterback thing, people were saying, well, what do you think they should get? Here's what they should get. You should go out and fortify the secondary, go out and try to swing something to get you a little bit more pressure. I know yesterday they did chase Brissett. Brissett did throw underneath, but it's got to be more consistent. And you got to have something. You got to have help in the back end or help in the front end. It's kind of like the story of my life. And you owe it, if you're the Colts, you owe it to the fans to help as much with the roster as possible. It doesn't always have to be somebody that played for Lou Anarumo. Even though Jermaine Pratt came in yesterday and had 11 tackles. Jermaine Pratt got off the Greyhound, went onto the field, and got 11 tackles. True story. And not so much, but catch my drift. 239-1070 is that number. JJ's up next today. JJ, welcome to the show. How are you?
What's going on, brother? Damar.
JJ.
Hey, I wish you were at the Joe's Grill right around the corner from me. I would have come and seen you.
Well, I'm at Joe's Grill in Westfield on Thursday. How do you like them apples?
I'm going to try and make that,
You
man.
better.
I haven't seen you since the cigar bar.
I'm going to be rocking it like Docking up there, too. You got to get ready.
I'm going to try and make it, brother.
I'm going to be pissy, too, because I think my picks last week sucked. So I'm going to be a little bit pissy.
I'm going to have to get you one. Get you a drink on me.
You're going to have to do that. I'm going to have to ease my nerves a little bit because there may be some pissiness. Go ahead.
Hey, real quick, I've kind of been a fan of Jacoby Brissett when he was here. He was a kind of a stable quarterback. I'm questioning you on they made him look like a superstar. Is he one of the better backups in this era of quarterbacks? And my other question, I know they need to be looking for someone. Is Franklin on the block?
Thank you. Is Zaire Franklin? Or Benjamin Franklin? Or Tony Franklin, the former shoeless place kicker for the Eagles? No. Now, listen, I know you're talking about the whole linebacker situation, but the secondary, Brissett did, and it's underneath, and that's what he does. I don't care. Then if that's what he does, you should have been better prepared for what he does because that was too damn easy yesterday for Jacoby Brissett. At the very least, even if we debate this out here, 27-44, which, isn't the best on paper, but Jacoby Brissett, 320 and 2 TDs. Yeah, that's too much. Yeah, the defense could stand to be fortified. I think we all would be together on that particular opinion, would we not? Do I need to break here, or am I cool? Hey, Greg, you can go ahead and lead on the other side. Stephen Holder joins us coming up at 5. Keep in mind, I got a bail at 5:30. And actually, because of other stuff, I think I got a bail before that. So you may want to hustle your rear end up and join me at 239-1070. The text lines are 317-239-1070. Behringer's Tavern, South Meridian. We can have beers. We can all talk to Rick Venturi in the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow and then some, if you're ready for it. Behringer, Southside, South Meridian. The legendary Behringer's coming up tomorrow, 3 until 6. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
It's quite pungent. Stings the nostrils.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Colts break the huddle. Jones out of the gun, changing the play at the line of scrimmage. Now he's going to dip under center. Jones, quick pitches the left side to Jonathan Taylor. Cuts up, he's in! Touchdown! Touchdown! I-N-D-Y for Jonathan Taylor. And the Colts indeed retake the lead 30-27, 4:32 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. Colts win. Colts roundtable coming up at 5:30. Anthony Richardson Sr. placed on IR with that fracture to the orbital. I tried my rear end off to pronounce that accurately, but I still have a little Greene County working on it. Fractured orbital. So he goes on IR, and the Colts claim safety Ruben Lowry off waivers from the Ravens. Now, before you go, somebody gave me the whole Pulp Fiction thing with Mr. Wolf and a great quote last week. I want to utilize it here, but I won't. Before you start, I will tell you that the Ravens are so injury shattered right now that I don't know if you're going to be jumping around with a great deal of excitement. You would think like anybody that can play would like be out there for them right now. But anyway, we shall see. Orbital. I think twice I got that thing right. JMV, I spent a week at the Hyper when I was 15, 1997, Bob Night Camp. Why not? I was there today. JMV, I've only been to the Hyper once in the last 30 years, yet somehow I knew it as soon as I saw it. I love the Hyper. I think they call it the Bill Garrett Fieldhouse now. It's always going to be the Hyper, even with that, to me. Indy Drew says DBs and DE struggled, but check down Jacoby was always going to look to find outlets and easy throws to those so immediately open that it's almost impossible to get home. He was under pressure for 50% of dropbacks. Got to improve linebacker, and that starts with 44. The problem is it doesn't start with – it starts with defensive coordinator because that's not prioritized. And I would also tell you, Indy Drew, that you knew that you were going to get that going in, so why were you not prepared? Was it because you didn't have Ward? You got to be better than that. Well, that's what he does, so we're just hosed. That's something I would say. Thank you, Indy Drew. Greg, before the top of the hour, jump on this show.
Hey, JMV, how you doing?
Greg, I'm outstanding. Greg, it's been a long time. How long has it been? 20 years?
Well, we're getting close.
Yeah, I remember. Hey, Greg, I remember you a great deal. Seriously, it has been about 10 years. I have a great memory for things like this. It's been 10 years.
No, it's only been about 2.
I think it's been 10, but okay, I'll go with your 2.
All right, I want to say congratulations to IU football.
Yeah.
But I also want to say congratulations to Don Fisher because everybody talks about, I'm an IU football fan and this and that and everything else. But that man has been there over 50 years and had to endure every step, every game. And I tell you what, that's a class act right there.
Well, you don't have to tell me that because there's no greater Friday night that I spend than hanging out with Don and Susie Fisher. So I'm right there with you on that, Greg.
Yeah, he lives next door to me, so I'm kind of biased.
Well, I'm biased too, but always will be.
Have a good week.
Greg, good to hear from you. Now, the one thing I think we know, it's difficult to challenge my long term My short-term memory can be challenged fairly easily, like especially if James says something and then 15 seconds later I forget it. My long-term memory rarely is challenged. Holy hell, Schefter just reported AR put on an IR from a fractured orbital bone he got when a stretch band broke. From Joe. Yeah, chill out on the backup quarterback too, because that doesn't matter. I know you're going to say, well, if Jones gets injured, it's kind of like back in the Manning era. If Manning got injured, everything was screwed. And I'm not trying to put Jones and Manning on the same tier as a quarterback, but the same applies. Things aren't going to work the same. And that may equate to Jones being described as the MVP of this team. But those of you that are asking, the true MVP of this team is Jonathan Taylor. And we saw that again yesterday. Spreadability of Win Schuler's got 4 different flavors that you love, including original sharp, and bacon and cheddar, along with jalapeno pepper. The spreadability is back. 2025 Win Schuler Spreadability. Find it at your local Meijer, Gordon Food Service, or at your favorite grocer's refrigerator. Me and you and a final 30, and Stephen Holder of ESPN is going to be with us next.
Ding dong. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Behringer, South Meridian tomorrow. Rick Venturi, 4 o'clock hour. You guys going to make sure you come over and have some beers. South Meridian, legendary Behringers tomorrow. Our guy Rob will be there. Rick Venturi, 4 o'clock hour. We got to go in a big hurry. 5:30 Colts Roundtable starts, so I bail 30 minutes early, and then Pacer pregame at 6:30. Spurs and Pacers tonight, preseason matchup for the Fieldhouse. So there you go. It is from the Fieldhouse tonight, right? Did I get that right? Hell, I didn't even look. Preseason game. Hey, again, shout out to Brooks Barnheiser of OKC, Lafayette Jeff, Dad, Mark Barnheiser. Awesome. Made his Fieldhouse debut with OKC on Saturday in that preseason game. Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now. It should be noted I did notice here that James brought us back with Rubber Band Man by the Spinners, and Stephen Holder from ESPN and ESPN.com joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. However, I'm not making light of the situation, as we just learned. The Stephen Holder also is talking about how Richardson is going on IR. We'll miss a minimum of 4 weeks. And there are other things to get into that I think are highly more important. But the severity of what took place in, I guess, Stephen, what was a freak accident before the start of the game yesterday. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's bad luck, and then there's this. This is
this guy. This guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for real. I mean, so this happened in the locker room. You may have already covered this. I don't know, but this happened in the locker room, not even on the field. All the quarterbacks do this. And if you go out to training camp in Westfield, sometimes if you're out there early, you'll see them out there, sort of warming up with these bands and getting, it's a plyometric kind of thing, right? Get all stretched out and limber and all that to take the load from all the throws they make throughout the day, even in warm-ups. And so anyway, they were doing this. They do it both on the field sometimes in the locker room. In this particular case, they were doing it in the locker room. And whatever he attached the band to, that is what broke. And that pole, for lack of a better word, when it snapped, impacted his face. And he's pretty busted up from everything I've been told. I don't know which eye, but he cannot see very well out of whatever eye was impacted because of the swelling. So that's some pretty significant swelling, you have to think, I haven't seen him, but that's my understanding. So once the eye is fine from everything I was told, so no issue there, but a broken orbital bone, that puts you on the shelf. I mean, I think this was pretty cut and dry that he wasn't going to play for a little bit. So, yeah, just a really freak thing, man. Just awful.
What are they looking for in a backup before we get to things that matter more than that right now? Because I don't think they're going to stick with Riley Leonard as the backup quarterback in this case. What are they looking for? Does he have to did he need to play for Lou Anarumo at some point in his career?
It would help. There's no question about that. I mean, that gets you to the top of the pile of resumes, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. I was kind of joking. Yeah. But listen, the last guy they brought in and played for Lou had 11 tackles and led the team yesterday getting off the bus. So yeah.
Right. So anyway, I think so. All right, let's start with Riley Leonard.
Yeah,
it was still on the table as of earlier today. It was still on the table that maybe Riley could be the backup. I personally would say that's not the way to go. It's no knock on him. It's just there's a lot going on in this offense, and for a young guy, look, I know you said there's more important things, and there are, but they got some mojo going right now. And if Daniel Jones twists his ankle tomorrow, somebody's got to be ready to go. And that's a big deal, right? So I think it's actually pretty important that they think about this. And so for right now, it's still up in the air because what's out there just isn't very good. But I think what you want is a veteran guy who can handle all of all the ins and outs that Shane is going to throw at him, because that's what this is about. And that's why Daniel Jones is thriving, is because he can handle the level of complexity that Shane puts on his quarterbacks. It is tremendous, okay? And I don't know if people fully understand it. So it has to be a veteran guy if you're going to bring somebody in, someone who is just, who can play with limited practice and has seen a lot of different scheme in his career. And I don't know who that is, but that's kind of the profile, I think.
He is Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com with the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A little bit more on Mooney Ward and his pregame warm-up mishap with Ogletree here. We have seen this, guys in concussion protocol, which happened to him concussion-wise. He missed the game yesterday. Normally don't bounce back in 1 week. I don't know where that's going to be. I know they claimed off waivers a safety that's also, I think, a corner from the Ravens a little bit earlier today on that Richardson move. What are the Colts looking at going into this weekend as far as the secondary overall is concerned, especially if Mooney cannot go?
Well, to be frank, it's a disaster. I don't know how else to put it. It's no one's fault. I mean, it's just injuries, right? I was talking to someone from the organization earlier today, and let me pull up the text. This is actually pretty interesting when you really think about it. All the defensive backs who are missing. We're talking about, let's see here, Justin Wally, Jalen Jones, Kenny Moore, Ward, and Hunter Wohler, who we forget about, right? Hunter Wohler was going to be possibly the sixth DB. By now, he would have been playing. There's no question about that. With all the injuries they had, they're missing all of those guys currently. I mean, that's an entire secondary. Literally, that's an entire starting secondary, and it's all out. They're all out right now. So it's tough. And keep in mind with Ward, Mooney had a concussion in he missed, I think, week 2, if I'm not mistaken. So he had a recent one and now has this one, which by the look of the video and the way he was sort of struggling to get off the field, I mean, I'm not assigning severity to these things because, they're very, very hard to pin down, concussions. However, I mean, he looked really jacked up. Okay, that thing looked pretty bad. So I'm just not entirely optimistic about how quickly he turns around and plays. And I think you have to be asking yourselves a lot of questions given the fact that he had a recent one and given what we saw him dealing with yesterday. So all I can say is pray for Kenny Moore and these other guys that maybe somebody can find their way back this week. But I don't know that that's the case.
And let's just face it, too, it is a must to address this glaring need for a very good team, as we've seen start the season at 5-1 prior to the trade deadline. Is it not? Because the Colts went against the grain in what they normally have done in the past in addressing personnel and the roster in the offseason, and it's worked. So listen, to me, you have to go out and hard target and bring in somebody because this, you mentioned, it's a disaster, and you have to handle it because this team has been at this level of good so far this season. You agree?
I mean, I think, yes, if there's something, if there's a move to be made, I guess, and I don't know what that is. I guess you probably include potential trades in that conversation, but I don't know who's on the block. That's just the question. I mean, it's slim pickings, man. And so they've claimed this guy, Reuben Lowry III. He's a safety, I guess, with some flexibility off waivers from the Ravens. He did start a game, I think this year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know much about him. I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea if he's a guy who can contribute right away. I don't know, man. But I would say this, though. Yesterday was tough. I mean, Jacoby Brissett he just carved them up, and that was tough to watch. But there is some sentiment from inside the building that it wasn't all on the secondary. I mean, the pass rush just didn't get there.
I would agree with that.
He had a lot of time. He had a lot of time in the pocket. So I think it's just a little bit difficult to judge those DBs based on yesterday. But that being said, I'll conclude by saying, yes, the situation is dire. No question.
Normally this is not the case, but might this trade deadline be more ripe with availability for an edge rushing threat than it is for a corner? I don't know how much you've looked into it, but I think now maybe we all should start looking into it a little bit, because I think it's going to be a must because of what you just described yesterday was.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting because there's just not enough consistent production right now. And I thought Latu was turning the corner, and I do think he is and generally has played okay this season, but that's not what they need from him. They don't need okay. They need him to be dominant because they're getting it from anywhere else. And I hate to put that kind of expectation on the kid, but that's what happens when they draft you as an edge rusher in the first round. There's a couple of guys out there. I mean, so Adam Schefter, for example, mentioned yesterday, he had a long list of possible trade candidates. One guy on there, I have no idea how realistic this is, okay? But there's a few guys on there that actually are interesting. Cam Jordan, I can't imagine seeing him in another uniform, but I mean, he's interesting. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips in Miami. That team's not going anywhere. Key down in Tennessee, I don't know if they would ever do a deal in the division or if they even have interest in him. But there are actually a handful of edge guys who are in situations where they could be potentially available. So it would definitely be a change from the norm for Chris Ballard to go out and do something like that. But I think this is also a different situation than he's ever had.
Yeah. I think Thibodeau also. Deadline, I think Thibodeau is also somebody that laid out Foles is also a guy that may have some. That's why I mentioned that the edge availability may be a little bit better than the corner availability at this point.
Yeah, but I think teams are willing to have conversations about those guys because they have value. They just do, right? And so if you're the Dolphins, I have no idea where their mindset is, but if you're thinking about this in the right terms, you probably are being honest about it and saying, you know what, this ain't our year, and maybe we need to stockpile some picks, right? I don't know, but again, teams are they at least will pick up the phone with those guys because they have value, so you at least want to explore it, and I think that's what you're seeing here with those guys being in the conversation.
So Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Two of the bright sides here. Yesterday I thought was ultimately a bright side because that was a game they survived and won that at least in the past handful of years that they would have lost and would have led to a great deal of Monday disappointment. They did win that. Plus, as much conversation as we've had about Daniel Jones and MVP of the team and he and Shane Steichen, Jonathan Taylor is the dude, has been the dude, will continue to be the dude, and I hope he gets league-wide recognition for what he's accomplished so far because he is, to me, the MVP.
That guy, I think, is so underappreciated, and I think with the with the surge of like Saquon Barkley last year, for example, and Derrick Henry, he was certainly overshadowed, right? There's no question about it. I mean, I don't think the average football fan remembers that Jonathan Taylor had over 1,400 yards last season. But I'll tell you what, I mean, he's on pace to do it again right now. And I think this is the second highest, I believe that's right, second highest per game average he's had in his career, second only to that just spectacular 1,800-yard season he had in 2021. He's special. There's just no doubt about it. And I think the story I'm working on right now is, frankly, asking the question, is he making the case for the best back in the league right now? And I don't think there's any question that he perhaps is, So They are really fortunate. And that's why this is a tough team to play because, yes, the passing game has been very successful, and they have a lot of weapons. I mean, look at the job Tyler Warren is doing, right? Alec Pierce, look at him, coming back on the scene yesterday. But you can balance that with this running game that when Taylor is rolling, I'm just telling you that they are a really tough team to game plan for because of that balance and efficiency, and Taylor makes it all come together.
Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com. He is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, I apologize. I've got to be off the air earlier today because we've got Colts Roundtable, but this will be shorter than usual. Any thoughts on the inbound from next week in like 30 seconds or less? I mean, you could be staring at a 2-game losing streak had you not survived that yesterday. So I thought that was the best part of what took place was that was a game in the past they would have lost yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's an important point because I know that on a surface level, people will look at that and say, man, they really struggled against the Arizona Cardinals. Two things. Number one, they thought that defense was going to be their biggest test, and I think it was. Yeah. And they scored 31 points. And then secondly, they actually, I think there are people in the franchise that would have rather played Kyler Murray. Jacoby Brissett, he knows where to go with the ball, and he knows Lou Anarumo very well, by the way. So, having been in the AFC North. So that was not an advantage for the Colts. So given all of that, the performance.
Well done, man. Sorry to cut this thing short, but we'll do it again next week and take it even longer, okay?
All right, you got it.
Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com. Win Schuler Spreadability. Find it in your favorite grocer's refrigerator. The fall of 2025, and you're snacking. A little baseball underway already. Game 2 of the ALCS. Get that snack and Win Schuler Spreadability out right now. James, great job out of you. Matt Surface, Stephen Holder, podcast 1075thefan.com. Behringer's Legendary Tavern, South Meridian with you and I tomorrow. And Rick Venturi in the 4 o'clock hour. Colts Roundtable, followed by Pacers preseason pregame coming up tonight on The Fan. Have a great night.